Welcome to Growing People. I'm John Losey, and this is where we take a 360-degree look at how people learn and grow and how we can be better at it, both growing ourselves and growing others. I wanted to share a little bit about my thoughts about how we gain mastery. And first of all, I don't see mastery as control. It's not about gaining control like a master and a servant or slave. To me, that's not what mastery is about. Mastery is really about knowing your craft at a deep level, but also appreciating how much more there is to know about whatever you're trying to master. It is truly, there's a mindset around mastery. But let's talk about, how do we grow into mastery? How do you gain mastery? And I think there's three general domains that you need to have, and you need to have all three of these things and be growing all these areas concurrently in order to gain mastery and continuously develop mastery. And those three areas are education, competency, and experience. All three of those. So, for instance, in education, in learning, a beginner knows the information. A performer knows what's behind the information, where it comes from, what ideas contributed to it. But a master not only knows all those things, but has an appreciation for the limits of that knowledge, of where it no longer applies, and where you have to move into a different or new area that you may or may not have skills in. You might be a beginner in another area, and a true master knows when they've left their area of mastery. And that's education. Experience is another piece. A beginner might have tried it a few times, done it a few times, maybe even be successful a few times. A performer has done it many times and is more likely to be successful or execute well than not. But a master does it continuously, and maybe even without intent or thought. I would push that a great performer can do it without necessarily forethought, but a master continues to do it and does it continuously and is very intentional about it as they do it. Another way to look at it, is how do you feel when you step into it? A beginner feels nervous. A performer feels comfortable, but a master feels purposeful and intentional whenever they step into their craft, into that experience. What about competency? These are demonstratable skills. A beginner gets lucky every once in a while and performs the skill. A performer does it consistently and can consistently perform the skills and competencies that it takes to be successful. A master does it naturally and seamlessly, almost without effort. And it doesn't negate, it is still a difficult and complex skill or task, but a master makes it seem like it's effortless. So all these things in and of themselves, by themselves, are fine. You can be deeply educated, you can have a ton of experience, and you might even have the skills. Those things standing alone aren't enough to be considered mastery. You need all three of those things all at the same time. You might just have education, or you might even have education and competency, but if you don't have experience, you won't be able to foresee complications and difficulties. You might have competency and experience, but you won't know why it works, and therefore you can't necessarily be intentional about doing it. You might even have education and experience, but if you've been doing the skills wrong all along, you're going to miss out on what's there. So 3 areas of mastery, to gain mastery, you should be focusing on are education, experience, and competency.